let's unhaul some books. Okay, so about a month ago, I went on like a cleaning spree and cleaned off all my shelves and decided there were a bunch of books that I don't really need because I'm either not going to read them or I can get a better edition to keep on my shelves. Like, it's not something that's necessary, and that's what this cart is. It's a lot of books. And it's worth noting that these are going multiple places. Any more recent things or things that I think my kids are going to be interested in, I'll take to my classroom library. Some things are going to go to the local free libraries in town, and some of them are going to go to David's used books to get some credit back. So let me show you just real quick speed run the books that I am not keeping in my library. I'm not keeping this edition of Cyrano de Bergerac. One, I'm probably not going to read it anytime soon. And two, I can get a better edition of this, and it's a Signet classic, but like I don't need it. And that's definitely one I can check out from the library if I need it bad enough. I'm also getting rid of Hyperion. This is the kind of sci-fi that I'm probably not going to be interested in reading. I just need to admit that about myself, that that's not something I reach for anymore. I'm getting rid of The Marsh King's Daughter. I bought this in like a discount bin at Office Depot multiple years ago. I'm not gonna read it. Now, I'm probably gonna put this one in my classroom library because I know I've got kids that would read this for fun who like thrillers and things like that. But I'm just not gonna read it, so it's just wasting space on my shelves. I'm also going to put 50 Great Horror Stories in my classroom library. I just don't, this is too ugly to be taking up space, but someone might want to read it. And then Duel with the Devil, it's about Alexander Hamilton and Aaron Burr, and they teamed up and did something, and like that was in my Hamilton phase. And while I've never really truly left my Hamilton phase, I've left this behind. I'm getting rid of Peaches, which I read in high school, and it's a little YA about these girls in Georgia who aren't really similar, but they like bond over something. It's an aughts YA contemporary romance coming of age. All right, so think like Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants. And so I'm gonna put this in my classroom library maybe for the time being, but it's likely gonna eventually go to David's. I'm getting rid of this edition of My Cousin Rachel because I have a better edition of it that has Rachel Weisz on it. And if you have a book with Rachel Weisz on it, you keep that one and you get rid of this one. I'm getting rid of Dark Places by Gillian Flynn. I'm putting this in my classroom library because I still may reach for it and try to read it. But again, I don't really need it here taking up space on my shelves. And I'm also getting rid of The Flight of the Falcon by Daphne du Maurier. Oh my gosh, Daphne, apologies. I don't need that. I'm not going to read it. If I haven't reached for it before now, I'm not going to read it now. I'm getting rid of Lillian Boxfish Takes a Walk. I feel like this might be something that I'd be interested in reading because it's kind of like Evelyn Hugo, and where like somebody is interviewing or talking to someone who was popular back in the day, but it's just not my bag right now, so I'll kind of put that away. Getting rid of this cover of Testa Ubervilles, even though that is a sick cover. I don't need it. I've got, I believe, an edition in the penguin cloth bound, so I don't really need this. And then I'm getting rid of this edition for the same reasons of Autobiography of Miss Jane Pittman that has this very strange just one clip from the movie. There's got to be a better cover out there for that. I'm getting rid of The Fountainhead. Let this be known, I unfortunately still have a copy of The Fountainhead. It's just hardcover. I'm not going to read this. I'm not going to read that. I'm getting rid of this copy of A Farewell to Arms by Ernest Hemingway. That's not an ideal cover for me. And I'm getting rid of The Nightingale by Kristen Hanna. Will I read a Kristen Hanna in the future? Maybe. But I mean, I haven't yet, and everything I hear about it feels like it would just piss me off. I'm not into endings that make it so you feel like you wasted your time. So, and this one might not do that, but like, we'll see. It's a lot to be reading to not like it in the end, you know? I'm getting rid of this book called Five Women. I got this because I read a book called The Group, and it was like startling how good it was. And this felt similar. It's about 5 different women and their lives. And also Robber's Bride by Margaret Atwood. It feels like that, like different women, their stories of growing up and their interactions with each other and life. I'm beyond it. I don't want to read that. I'm also getting rid of another Ernest Hemingway. Sorry, Ernest. For Whom the Bell Tolls. This is also a cool cover. I mean, it's pretty neat. I think this is the same publishing company that I have Cry the Beloved Country from. It's a similar like format. But I have another edition I'll keep instead of this one. So that'll probably go to my classroom library for like AP Lit purposes in case they decide to read it. I'm getting rid of this Neil Gaiman, Neverwhere. It's also a gorgeous cover, but we're not reading Gaiman right now. I'm getting rid of Shoot the Moon by Billy Letts. I'm getting rid of this Life of Pi. Again, I think I'm more inclined to listen to Life of Pi than read it physically. And I'm getting rid of, again, this very sick cover of The Artist's Daughter. Like, sick, man, but not going to read that. It's a waste of time. I'm going to put this edition of Cujo in my classroom library. Likewise, I'm going to probably be putting The Mockingbirds in my classroom library and How We Fight for Our Lives. I just read this back in August and it's very good. But I don't really need to keep it on my shelves when I have kids that would probably enjoy it. Again, it's got some stuff in it that might be a little mature for my kids. I just have to vet the kid really carefully. I'm getting rid of The People in the Trees by Hanya Yanagihara. I haven't even read A Little Life. Maybe one day I'll regret that I gave this away, but like, let me get there, you know. I'm getting rid of It's Kind of a Funny Story. This is of its time, so I'm probably not going to read it. And I'm getting rid of, what's this one called? When the Martians Land in Huddersfield. But it's like, you can tell it sat beside a book, and it's weird, because like, that's the cover and the color of the sky. It clearly like got sun damage. It's really weird. But I'm not going to read that. I'm not going to read that. We got to be realistic. I'm getting rid of Brandon Sanderson. I'm getting rid of The Way of Kings and Words of Radiance. I'm not going to read these. Look at me. I'm not going to read this. There is not a time in my life anymore that exists that I'm going to look at these books and think, yes, that is the book I want to read. And if I do, I'll just check it out from the library or listen to it on audiobook. Do you see that? There was a time in my life where that would be an accomplishment. I'd be like, yeah, I finished this book. I would get bored 2 pages in. And that's not fair to Brandon Sanderson, but it's fair to me to get them out of my room, because look how much space I'm going to save. That's like 3 books right there. I'm getting rid of Where'd You Go, Bernadette. I'm not keeping Sybil, even though my mom is the one that told me I needed to keep this because she saw like the movie of it. And I'm getting rid of this edition of Steinbeck's Grapes of Wrath. And again, this is probably going in the classroom library for kids for AP Lit if they want to read it. Once again, Gaiman is not currently welcome in my house. So Ocean at the End of the Lane and Stardust. This is a gorgeous cover of Stardust. His books are pretty. It's unfortunate, but like, I'm not going to read it. So I'm getting rid of this jacketless copy of The Hornet's Nest by Jimmy Carter. I've heard it's good. And I have it, but I don't really want it that bad. And I'm also, you can't see it. I'm getting rid of all the Clan of the Cave Bear books I have, because they're all this big. They're all these massive hardcovers. What I'm probably going to do is hold on to them until my mom's birthday and just give them to her so she has nice hardcover copies of these. But there's like 6 books down here. It took almost a whole shelf and gave me back a whole shelf on my bookshelf. So, and I'll probably read those because like I do want to see what the hype is about, because my mom liked them growing up, but I also don't need them taking up space in my library to do that. So that is it. That is the pile of I'm not keeping them. Unhaul. Get rid of them. You gotta make room. You know, you gotta make room for new, and these are gonna make room for new. I would love to tell you where they're all gonna go. Besides the ones I told you already, I don't really know. I'm gonna let like fate guide me when I'm boxing them up and putting them in the different places they need to go. But otherwise, they're getting out of my house. Or they're just getting the heck out of my house. And it's so nice because I claim so much space that I could put books. Do I have more books I could get rid of? Yes. Will I do that? Jury's out. Alright, that's it. That's the Unhaul. It probably wasn't that impressive, but it felt good to me. So.